Hello agents, welcome back to the headquarters. My name is Brikowski, and today I'm going to talk about my thoughts on episode 22 of Crystallized, Brave but Foolish. In this video, I will talk about something I noticed in this episode, something I enjoy, as well as something I think it can be improved in this episode. Then, in the end of this video, I will give a score out of 10 for this episode. A quick little disclaimer, this video will contain a lot of spoilers of the latest season, as well as my opinions on the episode, so please make sure to keep that in mind. As always, if you enjoy watching this video, please give me a thumbs up under this video, it will mean a lot to me. If you are one of the new recruits, please hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell below for more videos and news coming up on this channel. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Continuing with what happened in NINJAGO City that the ninja went to rescue with the new power boost made by Pixel, seeing the ninja going back to something they have always been doing, people in Krypton prison brought a debate on the ninja. Some of them, like Ronan, support what the ninja are doing, and some don't. Ironically, I think what Ronan said is true. When there's a society, even criminals got their functions. But when there is not, everything remained in that society would be gone. Anyway, on Destiny's Bounty, Lloyd and Nia helped the ninja on monitoring the temperature of the vehicles when they are using the power boost. Wu showed up with the dragon armor, explaining how it would help him. I do think this part is a bit forced, that the dragon armor is being mentioned in the season when there is absolutely no use of it. I do understand the reason behind that is to include something from Hunted in this season. Although Tommy Adrison mentioned that this season would be the conclusion of the past seasons, I think it is not necessary to include items from all seasons, especially when they are not corresponding to the main story of this season. Anyway, Garmadon reminded Lloyd that there might be a chance they will lose this fight against the Overlord, but it kinda triggered Lloyd and which made him leave the cockpit of the Bounty. Then Garmadon took out Christopher to have a look of it. When Nia asked about the reason of him carrying around a plant, Garmadon answered that it was the only grin in his life and his aspirations towards the plant. I quite like this metaphor of how Garmadon described Lloyd as Christopher and how he hoped he can be forgiven. This shows the father-son relationship between Lloyd and Garmadon in the perspective of Garmadon. Anyway, seeing a plant you're familiar with, Nia provided some information on the plant and how it can live on. But she stopped when it reminded her of her water elemental power. I can see there is this foreshadowing of Nia getting her water power because she was still missing her powers and she sort of regretted of giving it up. This reminds me of her when she first heard about her elemental water powers. Back at that time, she kind of rejected it. She didn't want any legacies to tell her what to do or who she is. That's why she was miserable of becoming the water ninja. And now, knowing that her powers was gone and she was not happy with it, sort of showed her character development over the past few years since becoming the water ninja. Anyway, at the Oni temple, seeing the ninja approached and tried to drag them away in NINJAGO City, the Overlord and Harumi sent out some Dragonites to stall them. I quite like the ironic naming of the Dragonites because, well, dragons in NINJAGO symbolize its creation and light, but the power or the idea the Overlord have is darkness. It's kinda interesting to see the Overlord name the creature he created after dragons. Anyway, on the dock of the Bounty, Lloyd and Wu were fighting the Dragonites, and in this scene we can finally see the golden armor on Lloyd, and I believe it is not an animation mistake of having black bandanas on the mask of Lloyd's golden armor. I do think this is to highlight his relation with the Oni bloodline, to show that he is part of Oni. Anyway, during the fight on the Bounty, one of the Dragonites stepped over Christopher and which triggered Garmadon into his Oni form. In the meantime, seeing them being surrounded, Nia tried to awake the elemental water inside her, but she failed. Although there are only a bit of water coming out of her hands, I feel so touched and relieved at the same time because she has been a lot over the past 2 seasons, and I do think the writers should stop torturing her. Anyway, seeing the Dragonites not able to get rid of the ninja, Harumi joined the fight and took down one of the thrusters of the Bounty. Seeing the Bounty being surrounded by the Dragonites, Wu flew to the Oni temple to distract the Dragonites from attacking the Bounty. Anyway, because of the Dragonites, the ninja crashed one by one. And back to the Oni Temple, seeing Wu abroad, there came this battle between the Overlord and Wu. In this battle, Wu mentioned all the stories he heard from his father, his feelings of how afraid he is to the Overlord, and his determination of defeating the Overlord. However, the Overlord replied that there has not been an obvious defeat between the first Winchester Master and him. The first Winchester Master only compromised with the existence of him. This conversation between the Overlord and Wu has enlightened me with some philosophical questions. Would there be a day that the good or the lights defeat the bad or the darkness? Or the reason both the lights and the darkness do exist is that lights enjoy the existence of the darkness? Unlike typical hero stories, NINJAGO is all about the balance between lights and darkness, and I think something like this is what makes NINJAGO successful until this day. Anyway, Wu got defeated in the end, and the appearance of him on the Oni Temple triggered the Overlord to attack NINJAGO anonymously, including the bounty. Good thing the outer thruster of the bounty worked, but the bad thing is the bounty then got split into two halves, and the half which Nia stayed on got nothing to support the impact. Luckily, Nia able to open the sail of the ship and brace the impact in the end. The episode then ended with the Overlord sitting on the throne in the Oni Temple. I quite like how they included this scene in the end of the episode because it opens up the next section of the chapter, that is NINJAGO finally fall into the hands of the Overlord. In a nutshell, this episode is in a great pace and a great atmosphere. The fighting sequence and the dialogue written in this episode is really good as well. However, there are certain items in this episode looked a bit forced and should not be put in this episode, while there are some items appeared in this episode that deserve more explanation. Thus, out of 10, I would give this episode an 8. And that's pretty much all the thoughts I have in mind for this episode. What do you think? Do you enjoy watching this episode? Comment down below. If you have any ideas, suggestions, or promos to make, you can contact me with email, Twitter, Instagram, or simply comment down below. And see you later, alligator.